For centuries the galaxy believed humans were gone. Their home world, Earth, was listed as silent and empty. Old records showed broken cities, lost fleets, and a final message that ended in noise. After that, there was nothing. No ships. No signals. No signs of life. To most species, humans became a warning, not a memory. Young civilizations were taught the same lesson again and again. Humans were dangerous. Humans were unstable. Humans burned bright and then destroyed themselves. Council teachers spoke these words with calm voices, but fear lived under every sentence. If humans ever return, they said, it will mean trouble. The warning was carved into data stones and copied into learning cores. Over time the fear grew larger than the truth. On a quiet station near the edge of mapped space, James sat in a small archive room filled with soft light. The room smelled of dust and old metal. Screens floated in the air around him, each showing parts of ancient records. Emily stood across from him, her arms folded, her eyes moving fast as she read line after line. These files don't match, Emily said softly. James nodded. He had noticed it too. Dates were missing. Names were removed. Entire events were skipped as if they had never happened. Some records ended suddenly, while others repeated the same story using different words. It felt planned. Clean. Controlled. Look at this, James said, bringing one file forward. It says Earth fell in 1 year. Total collapse. But this other record says the wars lasted decades. Emily leaned closer. And this one mentions evacuations. Not many, but enough to matter. Why would they erase that? James did not answer right away. He felt a slow, heavy thought settle in his chest. Lies this old were not mistakes. Someone had wanted the galaxy to believe humans were gone forever. Around them, the station remained quiet. Most visitors avoided this section. Ancient human data made people uncomfortable. Even now, after centuries, the name carried weight. Fear did not fade easily. Emily tapped a control and brought up a damaged image. It showed a human ship, scarred and broken but still moving. The date matched the last year Earth was said to exist. They survived longer than anyone admits, she said. Yes, James replied. And maybe they never stopped. Far away from the station, beyond trade routes and council borders, human ships moved through deep space. They traveled without bright lights or loud signals. Their hulls were dark, their paths slow and careful. These were not the proud fleets of old stories. They were patient vessels, built for long travel and quiet survival. Inside one ship, Michael watched the stars drift past. He did not rush. Humans had learned long ago that rushing led to mistakes. He remembered the stories passed down through generations. Not myths but lessons. How fear had followed them. How enemies had watched and waited. How silence had saved them. Any change? Asked David from the console. Nothing, Michael said. Just as expected. They stayed silent most of the time. When they spoke, it was with purpose. Human ships did not need to announce themselves anymore. They had learned that being unseen was not weakness. It was choice. Back on the station, Emily closed one of the files and rubbed her eyes. They didn't just erase humans, she said. They rewrote them. James stood and walked toward the wide window that showed the stars outside. The galaxy feared what humans were, he said. So they made sure no one would ever learn what humans became. Emily joined him. Do you think the councils know? James shook his head. Some do. Some just repeat what they were taught. Fear is easier than truth. A soft alert sounded in the room. A new data packet had arrived. James opened it carefully. The signal was weak, hidden under layers of noise. Emily's breath caught as she recognized the pattern. It's human, she said. The message was simple. No threats. No demands. Just coordinates and a short line of text. Still here. Still watching. Emily felt a chill run through her, not from fear but from awe. Humans were not gone. They had waited. They had learned. They're close, she said. Yes, James replied. And they're being careful. He thought about the old warnings. About the fear passed down like a disease. The galaxy expected humans to return with fire and anger. That was the story everyone knew. But the truth was quieter. Humans had returned stronger, not in weapons but in control. In deep space, Michael closed his eyes for a moment. The waiting was almost over. Humans had not come back to take revenge. They had come back to be seen on their own terms. The galaxy feared the return of humanity for centuries. It had no idea how much humanity had changed. The small human fleet crossed the edge of known space without sound or display. There were only 5 ships, spaced far apart, moving slow and steady. No weapons were powered. No shields were raised. Michael led from the front ship, watching the stars ahead like an old road he once knew. Jessica stood beside him, her eyes fixed on the long-range scans. "We are inside Council charts now," she said. "They will see us soon." Michael nodded. "Let them see," he said calmly. "We didn't come to hide." The moment the fleet crossed the boundary, old warning systems woke up. Ancient sensors, built long ago to watch for enemies, detected human signal shapes they had not seen for centuries. Alarms spread from station to station, from world to world. The word moved faster than ships ever could. Humans. On distant planets, councils gathered in panic. Leaders shouted. Screens filled with old images of burning cities and broken fleets. Teachers repeated the same warnings they had learned as children. Humans were back. Humans meant war. Some worlds powered their defenses. Others shut down ports and hid their ships. Trade lanes emptied. Fear grew like fire in dry air. But the human fleet did not change course. They did not rush forward. They did not slow down. They simply moved on, calm and silent. On Michael's ship, David prepared the first message. He had written it many times, changing words, removing anything that could sound like a threat. Lauren reviewed it beside him, her face serious. "It's too soft," David said once. "That's the point," Lauren replied. "They expect sharp edges. Give them open hands." They sent the message on open channels, clear and easy to read. No codes. No demands. "This is a human fleet. We return in peace. We offer trade, aid and shared space. We will not attack." The message echoed across systems like a quiet voice in a loud room. At first no one answered. On one small world, a junior council member stared at the message in disbelief. "It has to be a trick," he said. On another, an old archivist leaned close to the screen. "This is not how conquerors speak," she whispered. Fear did not fade. If anything, it grew stronger. Some leaders believed the message was a lie meant to lower defenses. Others argued humans were testing the galaxy, watching for weakness. Still the fleet waited. Michael ordered the ships to hold position near a neutral star. They powered down even more systems and stayed visible. They did nothing that could be called aggressive. Days passed. Then weeks. During that time, more messages went out. David and Lauren answered every signal, no matter how small or rude. Some messages were angry. Some were afraid. Some demanded humans leave at once. Humans replied to all of them with the same calm tone. "We are here to talk. We will not force you. We will wait." Slowly something changed. A trade station near the edge sent a simple reply. It did not welcome humans, but it asked a question. "What do you want?" Lauren smiled when she saw it. "Curiosity," she said. "That's the crack." David typed the answer with care. "We want peaceful contact. We want to exchange goods and knowledge. We want to prove the old stories are wrong." The reply took hours to come back. Then one word appeared. "Explain." Michael read the exchange in silence. "We don't rush," he said. "We let them come to us." On another world, a science group requested human medical data. On a damaged station, an engineer quietly asked for help with failing power systems. These messages were not public. They were sent in private, careful and nervous. Humans answered them too. Small aid ships detached from the fleet and traveled alone, unarmed, carrying supplies and experts. They did not demand payment. They fixed what they could and left. Stories began to spread. Not through councils, but through workers, traders, and station crews. The humans did not attack. The humans helped us. They listened. Fear was still stronger than trust, but something new had joined it. Curiosity. Jessica watched the reports grow. "They are watching us closely," she said. "Every move." "As they should," Michael replied. "We are strangers returning from the dead." One night cycle, a council broadcast reached the fleet. It was official, stiff, and clearly written with shaking hands. "State your intentions clearly. Any hostile act will be answered." Michael stood straight and recorded the reply himself. "We understand your fear," he said. "We lived with it too. We are not the humans you remember. We survived by learning patience. We are here to share space, not take it." The message spread quickly. Some leaders rejected it at once. Others said nothing. A few asked for meetings, small and distant, with heavy rules and limits. That was enough. Lauren leaned back in her chair, tired but hopeful. "They're talking," she said. "Yes," David agreed. "And talking is the opposite of war." Far from the fleet, James and Emily watched the events unfold through hidden channels. The lies they had found in the records now stood exposed, even if no one admitted it yet. They expected fire, Emily said quietly. They got patience. James nodded. That might scare them more. In the human fleet, Michael looked out at the stars. Humanity had returned to known space, not with force but with restraint. Fear still ruled the galaxy, but fear was no longer alone. Truth was moving too slow and steady. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy was listening. The neutral station floated alone between borders, far from any single power. Its walls were old, its lights soft and dim. It had been chosen because no one truly trusted anyone else. When the meeting was announced, ships arrived from many worlds, all keeping distance, all keeping weapons close. Inside the main chamber, the air felt heavy. Long tables formed a wide circle. Different species sat in silence, watching the empty entrance. Some had extra guards. Some had hidden shields. All of them carried the same thought. Humans are coming. The doors opened without sound. John walked in first, his steps slow and steady. Ashley followed beside him, her hands open and visible. They wore simple clothing, no symbols, no signs of rank. There were no guards behind them. No hidden weapons. Just two humans in a room full of eyes. The silence deepened. Some aliens leaned back in their seats. Others tensed, ready for shouting or threats. Old stories burned in their minds. Humans were said to be loud, violent, and proud. Humans were said to hold anger like a weapon. None of that appeared. John stopped at the center of the room and gave a small nod. Ashley stood beside him, calm and quiet. They waited. They did not speak first. At last, a tall council speaker broke the silence. You return after centuries, the speaker said. Why should we not see this as an act of aggression? John answered without raising his voice. Because we did not come with fleets, he said. We came with words. A low murmur spread across the room. Another voice followed, sharp and afraid. Your kind nearly tore the galaxy apart. Ashley met the speaker's gaze. We nearly tore ourselves apart, she said. That is why we changed. The room shifted. Some listeners frowned. Others leaned forward, curious despite themselves. John continued. Humanity did not survive by winning wars, he said. We survived by ending them. By sharing what we had left. By choosing to rebuild instead of burn. Several aliens exchanged looks. This was not the speech they expected. A screen activated at the far end of the chamber. Daniel appeared, his image clear and steady. He stood in a simple room filled with data panels and old maps. I will show you what you were never meant to see, Daniel said. Images filled the air. Broken human cities, yes, but also people working together in the ruins. Different groups sharing food, knowledge, and shelter. Ships being rebuilt not for battle but for escape and rescue. These records were erased or altered, Daniel said. Not by us. By those who feared what humans might become if we were allowed to return. The council speakers reacted at once. Some protested. Others demanded proof. Daniel answered by opening raw data streams, untouched and verified. Dates, signals, logs all matching across time. This is not conquest, Daniel said calmly. This is cooperation. The images changed again. Human fleets shrinking, not growing. Weapons being dismantled. Defensive systems replaced with long-range travel and aid tools. We learned a hard truth, Daniel continued. Anger is easy. Survival is harder. It requires patience. The chamber grew quiet again, but this time the silence felt different. One alien representative spoke softly. If this is true, they said, why return at all? Ashley answered before John could. Because hiding forever is another kind of death, she said. And because fear grows when silence is left alone. John nodded. We return to face the story told about us, he said. Not to erase it but to correct it. A pause followed. Old fear struggled with new evidence. The room felt like stone slowly cracking under steady pressure. Another council member asked, what do you want from us? John took a slow breath. Nothing you do not wish to give, he said. Conversation. Time. A chance to prove ourselves through action. Daniel added, judge us by what we do next, not by what you were told long ago. The meeting stretched on. Questions came, sharp and careful. Humans answered each one without anger. When they did not know, they said so. When they had failed in the past, they admitted it. This honesty unsettled many listeners more than threats ever could. By the end, no treaties were signed. No grand promises were made. But something small and important had changed. As John and Ashley turned to leave, a council speaker called out. The fear is old, they said. It will not vanish quickly. John stopped and looked back. We know, he said. We lived with it too. The doors closed behind the humans. Inside the chamber no one spoke for a long time. Old fears had not died. But they had begun to crack. The danger came without warning. At first, it was only a tremor felt through the station floors, a low shake that made lights flicker and screens blur. Many thought it was fear playing tricks on them. The neutral station was old, but it had survived worse. Then alarms began to sound, slow and uneven, like a sick heartbeat. Deep inside the station, a hidden fault tore open. A long-unused power conduit failed, sending heat and force through nearby sections. Walls cracked. Air vents screamed. One habitat ring lost pressure in seconds. Panic spread fast. Aliens ran through corridors, calling for help in many languages. Emergency doors tried to seal but jammed halfway. Some species froze in place, unsure what to do. Others pushed toward escape pods, trampling supplies and each other. On the human side of the station, James felt the floor drop under his feet. He grabbed the wall and steadied himself as the lights went red. Structural failure, a voice announced. Multiple sections compromised. James did not wait for orders. He opened his communicator. "Emily, I'm heading to the lower ring," he said. "Power grid looks unstable." "I see it," Emily replied, already moving. "I'll coordinate medical and evac. Be careful." Michael was closer to the habitat ring. He saw civilians struggling with a jammed door as thin air began to pull at loose objects. Without thinking, he ran forward. He planted his boots, forced the manual seal closed, and locked it in place with his own body until pressure stabilized. "Move back," he told them, his voice steady. One at a time. The civilians stared at him. Some had never been this close to a human before. Fear flashed across their faces, but his calm held them in place. They listened. Elsewhere, James reached the damaged conduit. Heat rolled through the corridor like a wave. Sparks fell from broken panels. The system was old and mixed with alien designs, but James studied it fast. "It can be bypassed," he muttered. "But someone has to hold the line open." He stepped in. Burns spread across his gloves as he forced the manual override. Pain bit into his arms, sharp and bright. He did not pull away. The station shook again, then slowly the pressure dropped. "Power rerouting complete," he said through clenched teeth. Emily's voice came back at once. "We see it. Good work. Medical teams are moving." Emily stood in a central control area filled with noise and chaos. Different species shouted over each other. Screens showed damage spreading faster than automated systems could handle. She raised her voice, clear and firm. "Listen to me," she said. "We will move section by section. Injured first. No pushing." Some ignored her. Many did not. Her calm cut through panic like a steady light. She assigned humans to work beside alien crews, pairing skills instead of separating species. Michael stayed near the damaged ring, guarding civilians as emergency teams arrived. When debris fell, he shielded a smaller alien with his own body. When a fire broke out, he dragged hoses forward until others joined him. No one saw him ask for thanks. Across the station, aliens began to notice something strange. Humans were everywhere. Not shouting. Not demanding control. Just working. Carrying the injured. Repairing systems they did not design. Sharing air packs. Giving up safer routes so others could pass first. A council observer watched James collapse to one knee after sealing the conduit. The observer's hands trembled. This was not the image taught for centuries. This was not the feared return. "Why are they doing this?" the observer whispered. No one answered because the answer was too simple. They stayed because people needed them. Hours later, the danger passed. The station was damaged but alive. Emergency lights dimmed. Alarms fell silent one by one. Survivors gathered in open areas, exhausted and shaken. Medical teams worked nonstop. Emily moved among them, checking lists, speaking softly, never stopping. When she finally sat down, her hands shook from effort. James's burns were treated. He waved away praise. "It had to be done," he said simply. Michael leaned against a wall, watching civilians breathe safely behind sealed doors. One alien approached him slowly. "You could have left," the alien said. Michael met their eyes. "So could you," he replied. Silence followed, then a small nod. In quiet offices across the station, records were opened. Notes were added. Old warnings were questioned. Words like threat and danger felt weak against what had just happened. One clerk paused before typing. Then carefully they changed a line. Human response, protective. Human behavior, cooperative. Outside the station windows, the stars burned quietly. Inside, ancient fear had taken a deep wound. And for the first time, the galaxy began to believe what it saw, not what it was told. The council chamber felt different now. The same wide room, the same old walls, but the air was lighter. Fear still existed, but it no longer ruled every thought. Representatives from many worlds sat together, not shouting, not accusing. They were quiet, reading reports that had once been unthinkable. Humanity had returned. And the galaxy had survived it. Large screens showed records being reviewed line by line. Old warnings blinked red, marked for correction. Ancient labels like unstable, violent, and coming doom were highlighted, then removed. In their place, new words appeared, chosen slowly and with care. Patient, cooperative, resilient. Some council members resisted. They argued that centuries of fear could not be erased by a single crisis. Others answered that it was not one moment, but a pattern. The evidence was clear. Humans had waited. Humans had helped. Humans had stayed when leaving would have been easier. Jessica sat at a side terminal, watching the debate without speaking. Her task was not to argue but to record truth. She reviewed logs from the station disaster, trade exchanges, first contact meetings, and private aid missions. The pattern repeated again and again. No threats. No demands. No revenge. She opened the final report and began to write. Humanity returned to known space without force, she typed. They acted with restraint, accepted fear without anger, and chose action over words. She paused, then continued. They rebuilt themselves in silence. Not to dominate, but to endure. Across the chamber, a senior council voice spoke at last. We feared what humans were, the voice said. We did not see what they became. No one argued. Outside the chamber, news spread fast. Trade lanes reopened. Signal beacons lit up one by one. Worlds that had once locked their borders sent cautious greetings. Some sent apologies, awkward and delayed. Humans accepted them without comment. Michael stood on the bridge of his ship, watching new signals appear on the map. Lines of light connected systems that had once stayed dark. These were not alliances born of fear, but of shared experience. They're reaching out, David said quietly. Yes, Michael replied. And we'll answer. Slowly. On another station, Emily walked through a market where humans and aliens stood side by side. The looks of fear were fewer now. Curiosity had taken their place. A child from another species pointed at her and asked a question. Emily knelt down and answered with a smile. James returned to the archive where it had all begun. The missing pages were being restored, piece by piece. Truth did not arrive all at once. It never did. But it was arriving. He touched one restored record and felt a quiet pride. Not pride in power but in endurance. Back in the council chamber, Jessica finished the final line of her report. Humanity is no longer classified as a future threat, she typed. They are recognized as a returned strength, shaped by loss, patience, and choice. She signed her name and sent the file. The system confirmed the update. Across the galaxy, records changed. Training programs were rewritten. Old warnings were archived, no longer taught as truth. The story of humanity shifted from myth to reality. Not heroes. Not monsters. Just people who learned. As stars lit up with new routes and shared signals, the galaxy slowly understood what it had missed. Humans had not come back to settle old scores. They had not returned to rule or punish. They had come back because they survived. They had come back wiser. Stronger. Ready to stand beside others, not above them. And this time the galaxy was ready to stand with them.